So, you're thinking of moving to Oklahoma City, but you've also heard great things about Dallas, Texas. Is everything truly bigger in Texas, including the hype? Is Oklahoma simply just okay? And how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Only 2 of these questions will be answered today, and let's just say I've got a tummy ache for nothing. Anyway, by the end of this video, you will have all the info that you need to decide who takes the W today, the Big D or the Big Friendly. Let's get into it. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Now, unless you've grown up in this part of the country, and by the way, I've learned not to call it the South or the Midwest, so we're just gonna say Mid-South. So yeah, unless you're from the Mid-South, you'd probably be surprised to learn that the 2 cities we're talking about today really aren't that far apart. In fact, OKC is pretty much just a straight drive north on I-35 from Dallas. On a good traffic day, it would probably only take you about 3 hours to make the trip. Now, of course, you can't live in 2 places at once, and unless you have a huge backlog of podcasts, I don't recommend commuting. Back when I was a kid, I used to consider Dallas sort of the cool big brother to Oklahoma City, but things have changed quite a bit in the years since I was in my teens.
You're not old. You're ancient.
And while Dallas and its sister city Fort Worth have grown into some sort of futuristic megacity, Oklahoma City has grown a lot in its own way. And listen, that's a good thing. If Oklahoma City and Dallas were too much alike, this would be a very short video and you'd have a pretty hard decision. So today we're going to talk about some of the important differences between Oklahoma City and Dallas, and hopefully by the end of this video, you can decide which city makes the most sense for you. But first, if you're thinking of moving to the Oklahoma City area, whether it's in the next few weeks or few months from now, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help make a smooth move right here to OKC. You're going to find my contact information in the description below, so please feel free to shoot me a call, a text, or an email, or even better, click the link below to schedule a one-on-one video call with me so we can discuss how I can help you buy that perfect home right here in OKC. Now, speaking of home shopping, let's go ahead and make that our first point. If you're even considering moving to Oklahoma City, there's no doubt you've probably heard people singing the praises of the low cost of housing.
Can I get an amen?
Here in 2024, the median home price here in Oklahoma City is right around $255,000, which is good for you considering the US median home price sits somewhere between $400,000 and $425,000, depending on the source. Since 2023, nearly 30% of metro areas have seen double-digit increases in home prices. Now, OKC saw some growth in home prices, certainly since 2020, but that growth has become a little more slow and steady over the last year. Now, let's look at Dallas. Okay, that was dramatic, but still, in April 2024, the median home price in Dallas was hovering right around $400,000. As we all know, Dallas is a much larger city with a much more competitive real estate market. However, the point is, you're gonna spend a lot more money if you decide to buy in Dallas, and you should be aware of that. Now, with that new property you're buying, you'll also have to consider property taxes. We literally just used that sound effect. Anyway, here in Oklahoma City, there's an effective property tax rate of 0.87% for the state of Oklahoma. So total, when combined with the county you're in, you'll end up paying somewhere around 1% to 1.25% of the home's assessed value. And just like the home prices, that's gonna be substantially higher in Dallas, where the combined property tax rate will range from 2% on the low end to as high as 3% or more in some counties of the home's assessed value. Now, to Dallas's credit, the state of Texas does not have a state income tax like Oklahoma does. But once again, the property tax rate in Dallas is around 2 to 3 times what you'll pay here in Oklahoma City. And let's not forget that that's going to be applied to the already more expensive homes. All right, now the third thing I'd like to compare between these 2 cities is the population. So remember when I said that Dallas used to feel like OKC's bigger brother? Well, that's true if the younger brother is in Pee Wee football and the older brother is a starting nose tackle for his high school football team, at least as far as the population goes. Oklahoma City's population tallied just over 700,000 here in 2024, and it's currently growing at a rate of just under 1% annually. Now, across the entire OKC metro, the population sits around 1.4 million. Now, Dallas alone, on the other hand, has a population of around 1.3 million people. Of course, Dallas and Fort Worth are more or less the same city now. Don't tell them I said that. And their combined metro areas account for nearly 8 million people. That is to say, you aren't exactly going to have more friends if you move to Dallas, but you will have more neighbors. Depending on which type of person you are, that could either be heaven or hell. Okay, I've already touched on this a little bit, but it's important enough to warrant its own section. Cost of living is everything, especially in 2024 when inflation is really living up to its name. The handy dandy cost of living calculator estimates that Oklahoma City beats Dallas in virtually every single category. On average, it's gonna cost about 20% more for someone to live in Dallas versus Oklahoma City. Here in 2024, food costs are around 6% higher in Dallas. Housing, including apartments, is around 48% higher. Entertainment costs around 23% higher in Dallas. Healthcare costs are just around 2% higher, so that's not super significant. Now, the only spot where Dallas beats OKC is transportation, and that's mainly due to our having slightly higher gas prices, at least at the time of filming this video. So, what does this mean? So for a good round number, let's pretend somebody makes $50,000 here in Oklahoma City. For that person to enjoy the same standard of living, they would need to earn just over $60,000 in Dallas. But you might be surprised to find out that the median household income between these two cities is not notably different, which you'll see here in a second. For 2024, we can chalk up another win to OKC for the cost of living. But don't worry, we still have a few more categories to consider, like this next one. Let's talk about the economies in both cities. Here in Oklahoma City, the median household income is just under $60,000 at $59,000 and some change. In Dallas, the median household income is just over $58,000. I think we can agree those medians are super close, so it really goes back to that cost of living. After all, how much you earn isn't nearly as important as how much it can buy. After 4 years of post-pandemic inflation, I'm pretty sure we're all aware of that by now. As far as unemployment, here in Oklahoma City, it was around 3% in March of 2024. In Dallas, the unemployment tends to be a little bit higher, which is understandable considering a much larger population. In March this year, the rate was 3.9%, which is right in line with the national average. Now, this won't have too many repercussions for daily life in either city, but it is an important metric to understanding the economies in both areas. So, much like my dating skills, unemployment in both cities is pretty average. Okay, now, if you live in the Mid-South, you know that you can typically find a different climate if you hop in your car and drive for about 15 minutes. But even though Oklahoma and Texas are pretty big states, they tend to have pretty similar weather. Oklahoma City and Dallas can both have pretty hot summers. Dallas is probably a little hotter due to the slightly lower latitude. Both cities can get pretty cold in the winter, but I think Oklahoma City gets a little more snow. If you've paid attention to the news, you've probably noticed that both Texas and Oklahoma can get these pretty bizarre freezing rainstorms. And I'm not gonna lie, these can be pretty nasty. But in the interest of fairness, up here in Oklahoma, we have a bit of a bad rep for tornadoes. While that's totally fair, it is a little unclear to me why we tend to have a worse rap than Texas. For starters, the frequency of tornadoes is actually much higher in Texas. In 2022, Texas racked up over 180 tornadoes versus Oklahoma's 28. So while we're both in so-called Tornado Alley, the stats actually put Oklahoma on the lower end of the spectrum versus Texas anyway. But hey, at least we can still claim the movie Twister, even if Bill Paxton was from Texas. R.I.P. Private Hudson. Now it's time to drive this comparison home with one of the most important factors of all, at least according to me, and that is drivers. All right, now listen, I don't know if you've ever driven in the state of Texas, but it seems like the residents have been watching way too much Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, so I know that show was based in Georgia, but all I'm saying is if Boss Hogg saw how people in Texas drive nowadays, he might have a 7th heart attack. Then again, this is just my opinion. I am happy to admit when I'm biased, and this is certainly one of those occasions. However, if you prefer your daily commute to be a little more driving Miss Daisy and a little less Cannonball Run, Oklahoma might be for you. But hey, maybe you still need a little more convincing. Maybe Oklahoma City is on your short list alongside another Oklahoma city. Did I get that right? Anyway, it's Tulsa. So go ahead and click the next video here where we compare Oklahoma City to Tulsa. And guys, as always, until next time, I certainly hope to okay. See you soon. See ya.